And now it is time to our panel discussion, and it is a very interesting topic, and hope discussions will go well, and our panelists will give us some insight about this important topic. Our panel will be about entrepreneurship ecosystem for software industry, the case for Middle East and Africa. Our panel chair will be Dr. Michael. Our panel chair will be Dr. Michael. Hello, Dr. Michael.
Hello.
Hi. And we welcome our panelists, Dr. Tiziana Margaria, the chair of Software Systems, Department of Computer Science and Information Systems at the University of Limerick. And we will have also Dr. Reinier van Scherpenzeel. He is the CEO at Tunga, but I think he may have some issues connecting, and we will follow up with him. And Dr. Mahmoud. Yeah, Reinier is here, yeah. He finally joined us. Yeah, welcome, Reinier. And Dr. Mahmoud Elsherif, the CEO of Fixed Solutions at Egypt. So welcome all, and Dr. Michael, you can start introducing the discussions, and let us have these interesting discussions together.
All right. Thank you very much. I will try to share my screen for a second. I don't know if this works. Yeah, there we go. First of all, I'd like to thank the panelists for joining us today. I'm very happy that you could join. Just as a short, say, background, we're trying to get a community in Africa and the Middle East, academics and practitioners on software engineering. So we have a mix of people at the conference from Africa and the Middle East, of course, but also making connections to people outside. I would like to start by asking you a little bit of introduction by yourself. Clearly, we can see your names, but I think it would be nice if you mention something about your background and whether you have any connections to entrepreneurship in the software ecosystem. So can I ask Tiziana to start?
Okay, so thank you very much, Michel. It's nice to see you again in this context. It's okay, for what concerns me, I gave a keynote already yesterday with my hat as a professor, but I also have a background as a founder of companies, 3 of them, an incubator. I was for a long time working with venture capitalists and doing technical due diligence for various companies. I have also some experience of creating now a new ecosystem with a lot of companies and entrepreneurship in the context of what you see in the background, which is the new integrated bachelor and master in immersive software engineering, which actually is collaborating with 50 companies, which are our ecosystem, not only for creating students that are going to become employees, but also for founders and for people that are going in research. So I'm looking very much forward to this discussion.
Thank you very much. Then I would like to move on. Next person whose name I think I can pronounce is Reinier van Scherpenzeel.
Yes, that's me. Thanks, Michel. Yeah, so I'm not a doctor actually. I'm just a doctorandus, but yeah, I have a company here in Uganda. It's called Tunga. So I'm actually in the Kampala conference right now as well. Yeah, and well, when I say I have a company, I'm not the founder. So somebody else founded the company, and 3.5 years ago I joined and became also a member of the directors. So yeah, we're basically, at the time it was a startup, so still quite small. We didn't really know whether our concept could work. And now, yeah, we're a bigger company. We know it works, so we're now expanding and scaling. So when it comes to entrepreneurship in Africa, in the tech scene, yeah, that's where I've been for the past 3.5 years.
All right, thanks very much. Then we move on. Mr. Mahmoud Elsherif.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Michel. My name is Mahmoud. I am the founder of Fix Group, mainly Fix Solutions, and the other group companies. My main background as a founder was from information security and infrastructure engineering. I founded this group back in 2007 as an information security service provider, and we grew into a multi-versed, multi-business lines group. We support entrepreneurship by providing perks to entrepreneurs, and also I am a managing partner of one of the new venture capital in Egypt. Thank you.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you very much. Do we also have Mr. Hossam Osman in the call? No, because he's actually the chair of ITIDA, but I think he is not joining us today. Okay, then I'm going to show my my next slide. So indeed, short outline of what we'll do today. An introduction of the panelists. That's what we have now. Then I asked for some opening statements, and it was short notice. So I understand not everyone was able to produce, but I did get some. And then I prepared a number of statements myself. And the idea and the plan is, of course, that we have tried a bit of a lively discussion. I hope the audience can participate. I cannot see the audience myself, not being on site. So I kindly ask people that are on site locally to help guide questions. I should be able to read it in the chat. So please please let me know when you are actually seeing that someone wants to ask a question there. Opening statements, Reinier. I have your statement first. So I asked what's needed for a software industry. What's needed, and I'll read it up for you. You said we need just one thing, and it is the recognition that software development is a viable industry capable of creating exciting and meaningful employment for many people. Thus, the development of the sector is not a matter of teaching people how to code, but it consists of building an interlocking set of high-value skills and building experiences across industry. Okay, I think excellent starting point, but I was wondering if you have anything to add or explain or...
Well, yeah, so I will be giving a keynote afterwards that will also be on this topic.
Okay.
But I think what I try... So mostly when it comes to what's needed, we talk about infrastructure. So we talk about internet, we talk about power, and yeah, but we all know that these things can and need to be improved. But I think it's more, for me, it's an underlying issue that if we start to recognize the software development industry as an industry that can have a big impact in the overall economical development, then we will see that, it's worthwhile to invest, and that investment goes beyond just showing people what you can do with certain programming languages, showing what you can do with technology, but it also goes into professional skills. And that's, well, yeah, once again, that's what I will be talking about a bit more afterwards, but
okay.
I think these professional skills are just as important if you want to make an impact.
And professional skills, could you give some examples?
Yeah, so teamwork, intercultural communication, but also understanding customer requirements. So when you are building software systems, you're building them for a customer, you're building them for somebody to use, for a user. And so the understanding of how that user will actually use the application, those are the professional skills that I'm talking about.
Okay, I myself also was curious that your statement says recognition. it assumes that there's a party that needs to do this recognition part. Are you thinking of policymakers or anyone else? Or
Yeah, so I am thinking about policymakers, but I'm also thinking about, so there are plenty of initiatives right now that are teaching young people how to code, and that are saying, hey, we have this program, and in 6 months you will be trained as a software developer. And I think that's just not a realistic expectation. So in 6 months, nobody will become a professional software developer acting at a level where they can make a meaningful career out of it. And so it's recognition, I think, by everybody in the field that there is this huge potential. But to unlock that potential, we need to look at it holistically, and we need to look at it in a way that goes beyond just the tips and tricks that people need.
okay, yeah, thanks very much. Then I move on to the next statement, Mr. Mahmoud. Would you like to read your own statement? Or shall I?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead. Actually, we are talking about providing hands-on labs and machines for practical capacity building in specific skills. That's why when we introduce our internship program, we provide hands-on labs for these students, so they can be practically ready for the market. And we blend these teams in our development center, so they move fast into being market ready or ready for producing high quality software. That's the main point I was talking about today.
All right. Yeah.
Also, okay.
Yeah, if you have anything to add, that's fine.
Yeah. I'm talking about launching a scoreboard. This scoreboard within specific criteria will enrich the software industry in Africa and the Middle East. By providing this scoreboard and a scoring mechanism for enriching and fostering competition between early adopters and early software innovators, this will help software companies and startups recruit and retain talents. That's the main idea. And we have a product in our R&D center is being built for this purpose.
Very good.
Thank you.
So Tiziana, maybe you didn't have enough time to respond. Do you wish to have any opening statements? So the question essentially is what is needed for say building a successful software industry in Africa and the Middle East? Maybe you can reflect on your own experience in other areas.
Yes. So well, I've had actually quite some international experience coming from Italy and having lived for a long time in Germany and now in Ireland. And the outcome of those experiences, including working with companies, working inside institutions like, for example, the German Association for Computer Science, the GEI, Gesellschaft für Informatik. I'm now the vice president of the Irish Computer Society, so I'm also interested in that part. We see that one of the, how could I say, the good and bad points of the profession in software development is that it is not a regulated profession. So as Reinier was already mentioning, these kind of courses that give, let's say, a specific training in a short period of time for a specific skill, they may be sufficient if somebody is already a software developer, but they don't form the mentality of a software developer. And so there are individuals and there are companies and there are programs that in a certain sense are a little bit too optimistic, okay, in relation to the outcomes that can be achieved, the level of professionality, the level of reflection, the level of maturity, so to say, that can come out from pretty short-term I call it baptism, so to say, in some technology. Okay. On the other hand side, it is really, really great that it is a portable profession, because I mean, there is such a need of software developers that wherever you want to move, and I mean, in Ireland, people are used to a lot of immigration. There is a lot of immigration now, because we have a lot of companies that are actually placing their R&D and development groups, so to say, in the country. You basically can take your skills and bring them anywhere in the world in a way that is different from, for example, the medical profession, the law, or teachers, so to say. So this is part of the discussions that we are having all the time, so to say, with the parents for this new course that I'm mentioning here. That one is a little bit like my response and the University of Limerick response to this, because it is an accelerated course. So it is 3.5 years to the master, starting from Living Certificate, which is the high school degree that exists in the country. The students are spending half of this time in companies, actually in 5 different residencies. We call them residencies because there is a curriculum that has to be done and agreed with the partners. We have over 50 companies that have subscribed to this from all the possible levels of maturity, from startup to big multinational, and in various areas of development, so various sectors, so to say, different technologies, etc. So this is actually, let's say, a challenge, okay, but it is also an opportunity to see, okay, how the ecosystem reacts to a program of this kind. And so, yeah, if you have more questions, okay, I'm happy to answer. I will just cut it here.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's proceed a little bit, and maybe I shall give a little bit of background about myself, because even though I'm as a chair, I'm managing the process of the discussion. I'm currently a professor in software engineering in Eindhoven University in the Netherlands. Until 2 years ago, I worked as a professor in Sweden, in Göteborg. And in Sweden, I've been involved in a SIDA-funded project with especially Uganda, but we actually built a network across a few other countries. And so I've been traveling to Uganda between 2013 and 2018, I think, on a regular basis. Some of the things that we looked into, so my contacts were mostly at Margaria University and the people at the computer science department. And I know they have startup support, and one of the things we looked into is where do the customers need to come from? Is it mostly domestic? Do the companies, should they look for customers inside their country or maybe in their region, or should they aim for customers from outside, like Europe or the US? Maybe any of you would like to comment on that?
Yeah, so I had some discussions about this topic also in the past years here. I think the challenge definitely is that for any solution that you would like to build, you would need a very deep and thorough understanding of what is the user requirement. So what is the problem of the customer that you are trying to solve? And the thing is that there are cultural differences there, not only cultural but also legal differences. So our clients, and so what we do is we connect software developers from Africa with clients all over the world, and our clients are mostly small to medium enterprises that are operating in the IT sphere. And what you see with our clients is that they are already highly specialized. So they make this very specialized product, either for B2B, sometimes for B2C, where they have an extremely specialized knowledge of their particular domain. And if you are not domestic, it's very difficult to gain that knowledge. And then it's also very difficult to be competitive. So let's say, for example, the housing market, right? The rules and regulations of the housing market in the Netherlands are vastly different than the rules and regulations of the housing market in Austria. And they are even more different to the rules and the regulations of the housing market in Nigeria or Uganda or Egypt, for that matter. And so if you want to build a product that helps users navigate the housing market, then you would have to acquire this highly specialized knowledge of the sector, which is just extremely difficult to do so. So domestic is, let me just say it like that, domestic is just a lot easier as an entrepreneur to gain a foothold in.
Yeah, I see. Thanks very much. Does anyone else wish to comment?
Well, maybe just a couple of words
Sure.
on that. So having seen the difference that it makes, coming maybe from the situation in Germany to the situation in Ireland, where you move from a market that is 80 more million people, so to say, into one that is now just reaching the 5 millions, but with a density of IT that is really astonishing. You see that the companies and the people you're working with, they have a really completely different mentality. So first of all, living in a country where the language is English, you don't have the problem of the German, and even having all the documentation of products, etc., written in a different language, which is the case, of course, of localization. Then for many localization costs, maintenance, knowledge, etc., as Reinier was saying, okay. On the other hand side, you're basically necessarily serving an international market. And so the idea of having actually to deal with all this diversity is in a certain sense built into the system. Typically, you have actually to face all the time a product line. And so this is also determining, so to say, what you are teaching to the students, what kind of, let's say, challenges you are presenting as the normal challenges that they are going to face. It is a different normal, of course, in that case. And so considering countries and regions, so to say, like the Middle East and Africa with a high diversity, so some things are common, but some other things are really, really diverse in terms of regulations, in terms of technological maturity, in terms of what they can leapfrog, maybe or not. That makes a big difference in also in the education sector.
Mr. Mahmoud, do you wish to comment?
Yes. I think Dr. Tiziana mentioned a very important thing, that the regulations and different laws between Africa and Middle East and European companies, or European area also. So, for example, in the European Union, there is GDPR. In Egypt, we have an equivalent law also. In some entities, they require the data to be saved on site or on-prem, not on cloud. This also impacts the software industry, because the offering of software as a service is not always suitable for all industries. Some industries here in the Middle East, mainly in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and other countries, they require that the software totally to be deployed on-prem. So this kind of offering provides an opportunity to local companies to accommodate the different needs of the different sectors in the Middle East. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I think I understand. So it's, if I try to summarize, indeed, that you say that there's actually an advantage that to be local, right? Because the people that are software developers, they have better knowledge of the local market, local cultures and local legislation. Moreover, it may be actually a requirement from the business perspective that they say that we want our software to be locally deployed, or maybe even customized to a local language or local legislation. So the next question that is related then is indeed that, are there enough large customers, so to say, right? I mean, if you want to grow a software industry, if you want to sell software, then you need to find companies that are willing to buy it. Clearly, the stage of say economic development varies largely across Africa. Would you say that there's particular industries, for example, in Egypt and the Middle East, that are promising markets where there's a high need for software and software development? Maybe Mr. Mahmoud can answer that first.
Yes, sure. As I said in my last word, this gives a very big opportunity for emerging markets like the MENA market. So the challenge is giving the right value proposition for the different industries which demands high quality software, highly effective, cost effective. This gives a very big challenge to entrepreneurs in the MENA region. But also, if they have a good access to several industries, they have a very big opportunity to introduce high quality software with multiple deployment scenarios, like on cloud, on-prem. This gives a really great opportunity to entrepreneurship in this area. Also, in the MENA region, there is many initiatives for supporting software entrepreneurs in terms of capacity building and also funding. The funding is really a big challenge for software startups because most of them are not targeting global market customers. So my advice to the MENA entrepreneur to try to build a software that can be delivered anywhere, on the cloud, on-prem, anywhere, so they can reach and grow and do a significant market development in specific areas to grow their companies into a global startups. Thank
Okay.
you.
Do you know if there's any particular industries that are especially promising? Should I think of finance or telecom or energy or healthcare or government?
Yes, mainly healthcare and government are very promising in the MENA region.
Okay. Okay. Then thank you very much.
Thank you.
Reinier, can I ask you the same question? Do you see that there's enough customers to sustain a ecosystem of software companies?
Yes and no. I think there are three potential customers, right? So you have government, then you have B2B, so businesses that you can sell to, and B2C, so consumers that you can sell to. And so government is usually being hailed as if companies can make the move to e-government, a lot of work will come out of that. That work needs to be done by companies. So there's a lot of software development necessary that would be able to grow the industry. I'm a bit skeptical because I think the tenders tend to favor large multinational corporations and less the local entrepreneurs. So I would suspect that e-government would lead to big contracts for already big organizations and not as much to the sector development per se. But I don't know, right? So that's just my suspicion. When it comes to B2B, there's definitely a problem because what I see in Africa is that it's lacking large companies. There definitely are large companies, and there are definitely, so here in Kampala there are a couple, Nairobi is definitely a hub, Lagos is a hub, so it's not that it's not there, but if you look at how that situation is in Europe, for instance, the level is just a lot lower, and also there is a much bigger gap between the bigger companies and the small companies. So there's very little in between that can help you grow basically your own product to be able to eventually sell it to the big companies.
Yeah.
However, when you look at millions of people entering the workforce, but they are also, by entering the workforce, becoming consumers. So they will need to buy things, and they will be able to benefit from digital solutions in order to make smarter decisions in their lives. And I'm then thinking about, for example, fintech solutions, but even entertainment in that sense is a big potential business, because a big part of what we consume is about entertainment. And I think if local companies can tap into that market and monetize on that, I think there's a very big potential.
Thank you very much. Tiziana, any thoughts, responses from your perspective?
Yeah, so I was thinking more or less on the lines of Reinier and Mahmoud as well. So if you consider actually the dynamics in the Middle East and African continent, and in comparison with other areas, okay, for example, where there is no population growth, and therefore it is a saturated market for a lot of sectors, okay, with a lot of infrastructure that has been deployed, so lots of maintenance costs and so on, then you see there a lot of a service economy, okay, while in an area where the population is growing, which is of course a challenge on some parts, but it is a huge opportunity in terms of, lots of digital natives that don't that are ready to, to change the world with the new technologies. There is the opportunity, for example, of, jumping completely generations of technology, going completely wireless, for example, going completely virtual. So I was fortunate enough a couple of weeks ago to attend a seminar concerning the impact of blockchain, for example, in the oil industry in Nigeria. Okay, it is amazing what can happen there that is going to help, let's say, in certain sense, for example, transparency or accountability or something like that, but also enforcing disintermediation. And so let's say if certain technologies become the standard and the agreed, let's say, way to do things, maybe certain entire professions will not need to develop, okay, in certain countries, basically changing the demand of education and changing the skill set and the skill composition. And not all of this is just a menace. A lot of this can also be a huge opportunity.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Tiziana. Hang on. I think so. I'm looking at some of the questions that I prepared myself. Maybe this is also a question I can phrase it a little bit differently. Earlier with Reinier, I mentioned, or we discussed that recognition is necessary, also from policymakers, but also from other parties. Do you feel that software engineer or software-based industry is recognized at the government level, at the ministry level, as a potentially promising industry? Do you feel that the national governments are recognizing the importance of software industry? Maybe I start with Mr. Mahmoud.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last word.
I would like to ask if you think that in Egypt and in the Middle East, the government recognize the potential of software as an industry, as an industry that can create jobs.
Sure. For example, in Egypt, we have ITIDA, our organizer and sponsor. They sponsor the software industry by providing many support programs like training, like consultation. They are really doing a great job inside Egypt and outside Egypt also. They work with CMU and CMMI, and they provide specific trainings, specialized trainings in TUGAF and ITIL. So the government is highly supporting the software industry in Egypt. And this is one of the main pillars of Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, MCIT, which is the biggest umbrella above ITIDA. And we have Software Engineering Competency Center, SECC, which is specialized in software engineering methods and methodologies. And they have also providing local companies with hands-on training on DevOps and blockchain, AI, emerging technologies. So I think there's a very, very big support in terms of enabling software industry to export services and to more mature over the last few years.
Okay, thank you very much. And next I'll ask Reinier, same question. Do you think that that in Uganda and maybe other countries in the region that there's government recognition for the importance or the potential of the software industry?
Yeah, so this varies highly. So there was recently a report by Google and Accenture about the state of the software development industry in Africa. And you could see big differences. So Uganda seems to be a bit stagnant in that respect, but Rwanda and Nigeria and Kenya are doing very well in helping startups to set up and to. I think what Mahmoud also shared about Egypt. I think Egypt is also doing very well in providing training and providing facilities for startups. But I think it's broader than that. It's not just government, but it's also maybe a bit cultural in the sense that we get a lot of stories from developers that they say, yeah, my mother and my father or my uncles or my aunts, they saw me playing with a computer and they said, get a real job, do something with your life that's beneficial, and toss it away and focus on your studies. And they were saying, no, I am studying, I'm really working quite hard. And so the recognition also culturally that software development is a viable career, even more so a viable career. So it's a growing career opportunity. And I think that's what I'm missing a little bit maybe from government. It's not only startups, it's not only training, but it's also marketing. And it's also a campaign about what is possible and trying to make people understand how this industry works.
Yeah, okay. If you say it's a cultural thing, then maybe it's also asking for role models, right? But there are a few cases known, right, in Africa and the Middle East of companies that have been highly successful.
Yeah.
You think they are?
With the young people that's going fantastically, right? So everybody knows these role models. There are definitely big African entrepreneurs that have huge successful companies started by their own with software engineering, building solutions. We invite them also regularly to talk to our community. So they are definitely big role models, but it stays within the community of the people that are already interested, and the community of the people that are already thinking about, hey, this could be something for me, and it doesn't really move, at least as far as I can tell, doesn't really move in the broader cultural context.
Okay, yeah. Tiziana, any thoughts from your end?
Yeah, so my most recent observation in trying actually to market this new program is that there is also a gender difference in a certain sense, because boys they tend to play and like gadgets more, and they are the ones that maybe do more gaming or do more openly gaming, so to say, and so they are more connected. We should also have role models of people that are actually doing software or software engineering in other domains, not just the development per se, but the person that is doing that analytics, for example, for cancer research or for rare diseases or for epidemics or something like this, right? The same in construction, the same in transportation, the same in other areas that are basically touching all the civil society. I think that we still have a bit too much the idea of this, teenager geek that is happy to live in a dark room, just in front of a screen for fun in a certain sense, rather than really showcasing the impact that the profession can have. And I think that if we showcase a little bit more the impact, then maybe a larger part of the population could develop interest and recognize themselves.
Yeah. No, actually, there's a few countries in which working in IT in general is actually recognized as being women friendly, because it's mostly knowledge work and therefore accessible to women as opposed to work that requires physical labor, maybe under harsh conditions, right? So in that sense, it is an industry profession that is very accessible to women. We have a question I see come in from the chat. It is by Mpuga Gabriel, and he's asking the following. Entrepreneurship is diverse and can take different models. What could be the best model that can cut across domains in service delivery? And he's referring to study could be Uber and Jumia. So I think the essence of the question is entrepreneurship can take different models or routes, right? And he's linking it to service delivery. Any of the panelists?
Yeah.
But Tiziana,
Reinier, can you start?
Yeah, I was just thinking, so to say, it just brings me to the idea of the platform economy.
Yeah.
Okay, because Uber and several other, similar models like, Airbnb and Booking.com, etc., they're basically aggregators and service providers actually for individuals and small companies, for example, that are, planting applications or using the services. Okay, so this is definitely a possibility, and it doesn't have to be that all these platforms are coming from somewhere else. There are also fantastic small and local platforms that can be created, and they are really helping communities, for example. One thing that I wanted to add to what we have said before is actually the good aspect of software to be a talent-driven industry instead of a capital-driven industry. So you don't have to invest so much in order to start. And when you start and you make a name for yourself and you're recognized, then you can thrive. So it's not the case for the platforms. So there are the two aspects, so to say. If you need a platform, you need to have it for your idea and for your profession. But it is possible also to do a lot without the platforms.
Yeah, so I would agree, and I think that Uber and Jumia and other companies like that are often easy examples, but they're also outliers. Most companies don't grow like this, and it has to do with platform economics. So a platform brings together two parties, so the supplier and the client, basically supply and demand. Sorry. And in order for a platform to be successful, you need to have a significant market share, because otherwise people won't come to your platform. So what do? Is you buy your customers, right? For example, here in Uganda, we have this company called Safe Boda, which is a good example. That's a platform that links Boda drivers to people wanting a ride through town. They still are not making money, right? So it's a big company. They are very visible. They're not profitable. And Uber also for a long time has not been profitable. So these platform economics lead to a certain situation where lots of investment is necessary. And it's a winner takes all situation where basically only one can win a significant part of the market. And if you look at the majority of companies and the majority of successful companies, they all start small. They start by doing one thing really, really well, and then to build upon that. So it's like Tiziana saying, hey, you don't need much. You don't need a lot of capital. You need talent. You need a good idea. Then you, as quickly as possible, you need to market that idea. You need to find out, okay, so what do I do well that makes people want to buy from me? And then you need to scale that. So this is basically lean startup style, but that is basically the way that most companies grow and become viable in a very short period of time. And these case studies of Uber and Jumia, they're interesting, but they're not really a representation of how it happens in the majority of the cases.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Mahmoud, do you care to comment?
Yes, I agree with our esteemed panelists. Mainly Uber is a sharing economy business model. Jumia is an e-commerce business model. The software role in these companies are enabling technology, but it's not a software provider. Jumia is not a software service provider, and also Uber, Airbnb, they are not software service providers. Let's think about the business models of software producers. Software producers can accommodate business models like providing their software to be delivered through cloud platforms in software as a service model or platform as a service model. These models could fit really a software company, so they can deliver their product, something like a software product for accounting, which complies with laws and common laws in the Middle East, or e-invoicing, something like that. It can be delivered as software on the cloud platforms. This is a software product, but any other business models like Uber and Jumia, Airbnb, and other companies, the software role is one of the pillars, but it's not the main pillar of, or not the key to success, or not the main key success factor, in my opinion. In my opinion, software is more about innovation, is more about adopting new technologies and new design patterns, so that in this case, we are talking about a software startup, not an e-commerce startup, which relies on a good software, building a software in-house. Thank you.
Okay, I get, thank you very much. I get an indication that there's someone locally in Cairo, I think, that has a question.
Here from Dr. Ayon, he will share it with you. And thanks for these wonderful discussions, really interesting panel discussion. Yeah.
Osman, I'm from Eindhoven University of Technology. If you allow me to add something to this beautiful discussion, I have been growing software engineers for 32 years. So I can say something about what kind of quality the industry needs. I have the impression that we are the elite group of the industry. So if I'm looking at the military, we are like the pilots, you know, the Air Force. But do not forget, the infantry has been for thousands of years. So what I want to say is that we can learn a lot from the other engineers, a lot from the system engineers. So I have the feeling that software development should be a part of the system engineering, because from there we can learn a lot how to develop a holistic approach to understand the problem. So Reinier, you pointed out, you need to be a psychologist to understand the user. You need to know how to talk to them. So these aspects should be parts of the development of an engineer. So we are focusing a lot on knowledge, a lot of frameworking, patching the technology. We should have a way to learn the students to approach new problems, a holistic way of thinking. And I found this in system engineering. So I think this is my experience, that a software engineer has to integrate domains. We are at the top of the predatory chain, so to speak. So if we are not able to understand the other domains, to talk to other engineers, and to integrate, I think it's a missing chance for the future engineers. So understanding the problem, it's a major issue for the future. So my experience is that not only knowledge is the major aspect of the software engineer, but also the development of the software skills, EQ, creativity should be parts of the academic education. And I will end my remarks with something which has been developed many, many years ago by ABM. I don't remember, I have his book, it's a Dutch psychologist who studied the cultural aspects in many nations. So if you are an entrepreneur and if you want to do business in different countries, you have to understand the culture. You have to understand the way the culture can play a role, let's say, in approaching the market. I think I have a lot of remarks, but seeing the time, so I will continue with Michel in Eindhoven these discussions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine, Ion. Thank you very much for your comments. So indeed, there's a role for universities, and maybe this is the final wrap-up question. So this is the last round where I give everyone a last chance to comment. Feel free to do this based on what you feel hasn't been said and is important to say in the context. The topic that I'm curious in is okay, what is the role that universities can play, and especially how should they collaborate with companies in establishing this, and if so, how? But feel free to give any closing remarks, and I'll start with Tiziana.
Yes, so I couldn't agree more, of course, that it's important to be relevant and not to just do the theory in an isolated context. It is important to have all the foundations, but it is important also to get to know how to cooperate with people with different disciplines and with different knowledge. Everybody is important, and no software engineer is just, creating something for themselves. So I couldn't agree more.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tiziana, for participating in our panel. Reinier, you get a lot of broadcast time later, but do you have any closing remarks for the panel discussion?
Well, I very much agree with the comments made in Cairo. I just want to answer towards your question, what role should universities play? So in my experience, I've been working as an IT professional for about 10 years. Software engineers come from various backgrounds, and so artificial intelligence, computer science, mathematics, some also from language. Some don't have a formal education, but they can still become great software engineers. So I think there's a difference between the science and the profession. But I would say that the science, the computer science, should not, just like the gentleman in Cairo said, not focus just on a specific part of the technology, but look at it holistically and become so technology needs to be implemented, it needs to be used. All these different aspects should be taken into the curriculum.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Mahmoud.
Yes, it was a wonderful discussion. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you and to respond to Brian in the chat. He is asking about if we advise to focus on developing solution for particular field or vertical, or it should be diverse fields. In my opinion, vertical offering is the best offering, especially for startups, because if they diverse, they maybe get a big mess, because learning the domain experience or understanding the exact requirements and product market fit is a very challenging area, especially in early stage startups. So in my opinion, focusing on a specific vertical is the best choice. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mahmoud, also for participating in our panel. I see that Tiziana has signed off. She's moved on to another meeting, I think. I thank Tiziana also very much. Reinier, also to you, I extend my thanks for participating. And I look forward to seeing your presentation later today. And with that, I thank everyone in the audience as well. Thanks for attending. I hope it was interesting. And I look forward to seeing you somewhere later in the conference. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much for this panel.